The night before my wedding, my mom told me she spent my bonus on my brother's Vegas bachelor party. No ask, no warning, just a text like it was nothing. So I froze the accounts and called the bank. But what happened next? Well, that's where it all blew up. The day before my wedding, my mother stole my bonus and spent it on my brother's Vegas trip. That's not a metaphor. She didn't borrow it. She didn't ask. She didn't even wait for me to be married before pulling one last stunt. She just took it, then sent me a text like it was the most reasonable thing in the world. We used your bonus to pay for your brother's party in Las Vegas. He deserved a break. Then, 10 seconds later. As if she sensed a tiny flicker of conscience and decided to stomp it out. You don't like parties anyway. There's a moment when anger becomes so familiar that it doesn't even register as anger anymore. That's where I was. I didn't yell. I didn't throw my phone. I just stared at the message, feeling that old numbness settle in. They always found a way to take something: time, money, energy. The difference this time? I saw it coming. I had just hoped they wouldn't do it the week of my wedding. For context, my brother Lucas is the golden child. Even when he's screwing up, which is most of the time, there's always an excuse ready. When he got fired last year for no call, and no showing his job at the dealership for a week straight, my parents said he was just overwhelmed. When I got promoted, they asked if I could help out a little. Meaning, cover Lucas's rent for a few months while he figured things out. I did. Like an idiot. But I told myself that was the last time. Until now. The bonus was from closing a brutal deal at work. I had pushed through a hellish quarter, given up my weekends, and nearly missed my engagement dinner. It hit my account 3 days before the wedding. I hadn't even spent it yet. Planned to surprise Anna with a last-minute honeymoon upgrade, first class, better resort, something memorable. Instead, it was gone. They didn't even hide it. The joint account was still technically shared with my parent, left over from when I helped them get approved for a loan 5 years ago. I meant to close it. Never got around to it. That's on me. But seeing the transfer to another bank account under my father's name? That was on them. So I sat down, opened my laptop, and got to work. First, I flagged the transaction as unauthorized. I had the text messages. Screenshots of the account, before and after. The bank rep didn't need much convincing. The claim went through immediately. The investigation opened. Then I made a second call to the hotel in Vegas, where I knew they were staying. My brother had posted the location on his story, like an idiot, trying to show off the suite and bottle service. I asked for the night manager and confirmed the names and the credit cards they had on file. Told them there would likely be a freeze on those accounts due to a pending fraud case. The manager was polite, a little confused, but said he'd take care of it. I didn't stay up to watch the fallout. I turned off my phone, shoved my laptop aside, and went to bed next to Anna, who was half asleep and exhausted from the day. She didn't know anything about the drama. And I wasn't going to ruin the last peaceful night of our engagement with stories about my family. At midnight, though, I woke up once and checked my phone. 6 missed calls from my mom. 3 from Lucas. Even 1 from my dad. Then the texts started flooding in. What the hell is going on? George, the hotel is saying our cards are frozen. You need to fix this now. This is your family. How dare you pull something like this the night before your wedding? I put the phone on airplane mode and went back to sleep. They didn't come to the wedding. They weren't invited. And I felt nothing but relief. That moment, lying there, silent, calm, knowing they were stuck and I was finally free, that was the first real gift I gave myself. But it was just the beginning. The wedding morning felt like stepping into another life. Not because everything was extravagant or flawless. It wasn't. It was simple. Small. Beautiful. This way, a moment is when you know you just cut the weight off your ankles right before jumping. Anna looked incredible. And I was surrounded by people who were genuinely happy for us. Not one person from my side of the family was there. And no one asked why. I didn't explain. I didn't have one. But the silence didn't last. The morning after the wedding, I turned my phone back on. Part of me thought maybe they'd take the hint. Maybe the chaos in Vegas would keep them busy long enough to reconsider their entitlement. I was wrong. The notifications hit all at once: texts, missed calls, voicemails, emails. My mother led the charge. This was cruel. You humiliated us. You let your brother get stranded. I raised you better than this. It was incredible how fast she switched from victim to martyr. Then my father chimed in with a vague, icy email. I'm disappointed in how you chose to handle this. Family means stepping up, even when it's uncomfortable. That was rich, coming from a man who spent most of my childhood stepping aside when it counted. Lucas was the most direct. Hope your wife knows she married a selfish prick. Enjoy the money. It didn't get to me. Not anymore. I didn't respond. Not even a period. I wasn't angry. I was done, completely and finally. I'd spent years thinking the right mix of patience, success, and obedience would make them treat me like a son and not a resource. Turns out, they only understood control. And the second they lost it, they panicked. The bank emailed 2 days later, confirming the funds would be returned in full. I transferred them into a new, private account I'd already set up. I closed the old joint account entirely and even filled out a form blocking any future link requests. I took screenshots of everything, not for them, just for myself. Then I made a decision that had been simmering in the back of my mind for years. We weren't going back to Dallas. Anna and I were supposed to return after the honeymoon. We had just signed a lease on a new apartment in a neighborhood she liked. But I called the landlord, paid the early termination fee, and canceled everything. Told Anna I didn't want to go back, I wanted to start over. Start over. Somewhere with no history, no expectations, no backup plans. She didn't hesitate. She just asked, "Where do you want to go?" We moved to Portland. Found a small house on the east side with big windows and a backyard that needed work. I got hired at a mid-size firm with a boss who didn't care where I came from, only that I delivered. Anna started freelance design work. She'd always wanted to, but she'd spent too long supporting us through my family's chaos. Now, she finally had space. Update. For the first time, I stopped checking my phone out of habit. I stopped calculating my words to avoid guilt trips or silent treatments. We built routines that didn't involve anyone else's approval, brunches at weird cafes, weekend hikes, slow mornings with nothing to fix. Then, 2 months in, I posted a photo on Facebook. Anna and I were in Italy, a surprise trip I booked the day my bonus was returned. We were standing on a cliffside near the Amalfi Coast, wine in hand, sunglasses on. No hashtags. No dramatic captions. Just one line. Finally taking care of the right people. My mom liked the photo within 20 minutes. Then unliked it. Then liked it again. That told me everything I needed to know. They were still watching. And I wanted them to see what life looked like when I wasn't under their thumb. A week after I posted the Italy photo, the messages changed tone. First, it was my mom again, but not angry this time. She sent a long, rambling text about how family goes through ups and downs, how they made mistakes, and how I shouldn't let one misunderstanding ruin everything. She even threw in a Bible verse. Something about forgiveness. I didn't reply. The next day, Lucas texted me, not to apologize, of course. He just asked, "Are you done with all of us?" That's all he wrote. Like, he couldn't believe I was serious. Like everything they'd done was just background noise, and now I was the one overreacting. Then came the voicemail from my dad. He didn't leave messages often, so I listened. He said the family had been talking, and they didn't think it was fair for me to cut everyone off over a few bad decisions. He said I was being dramatic. This isn't how blood treats blood. I laughed out loud when he said that part. Because for 29 years, I'd been treated like a walking safety net. I was good enough to fix things, pay for things, hide things, but not good enough to respect. Not when it counted. And now that I'd stopped playing along, they acted like I was the villain. But here's what they didn't know. I had started documenting everything a year ago. Every dollar I gave them. Every time I bailed Lucas out. Every month, I covered their credit card minimums, their surprise car repairs, and their quiet little emergencies. I wasn't keeping score. I was building a file. I sent my dad a short reply. This isn't about a few bad decisions. It's about 29 years of them. That was it. One line. No argument. No details. Just the truth, flat and cold. After that, they went quiet for a little while. Then my cousin Amanda messaged me out of nowhere. We hadn't spoken in almost 5 years. She started casually asking about the wedding, and said the pictures looked nice. But I could see where it was going. She said my mom had been devastated, and maybe I could find it in my heart to reach out. She said it was hard seeing the family split apart. I told her I appreciated the message. Then I asked if she remembered when she crashed on my couch for 6 weeks after her divorce, and my mom tried to kick her out behind my back. She went quiet after that. One by one, they tried to send someone in, a guilt messenger, a peacemaker. They thought if they found the right voice, I'd fold. But they were still speaking the language of manipulation. And I didn't speak that anymore. I posted a second photo. This one was just me and Anna standing in front of our new house in Portland. No caption. Just the photo. Lucas liked that one. T-Hen posted a story of him at a bar with a caption that said, "Real ones don't run." I didn't even know he followed me. That's when it clicked. They weren't just hurt. They were jealous. At first, the silence was almost convincing. Weeks went by, no new texts, no voicemails, no surprise contact attempts. I thought maybe they'd finally gotten it. Finally understood this wasn't a tantrum. It was a boundary. A permanent one. But I should have known better. My family doesn't handle rejection like normal people. They don't process it. They rearrange it. They reframe it in their heads. I wasn't distancing myself to heal, I was being selfish. Spiteful. Disrespectful. And if they couldn't guilt me into crawling back, they'd start working the angles. It started subtly. My aunt, my mom's sister, commented under a photo Anna posted of us at Cannon Beach. It was just the two of us on the sand, bundled up in hoodies, holding coffee. Nothing fancy. Her comment was, "Must be nice to have no responsibilities." Good for you, I guess. No emoji. No lol. No context. Just that quiet jab. Sharp enough to bruise, if you let it. Then a guy I barely knew, one of Lucas's old high school friends, sent me a DM on Instagram. Told me Lucas had been talking about me a lot lately. Said I'd ditched the family as soon as I had money. That I was too good now, living some fake influencer life. Which was laughable. I didn't even post that often. And when I did, it was the occasional travel photo, a meal I was proud of cooking, or a shot of the new house with Anna in the background. Nothing showy. But I realized it didn't matter how simple our lives were. What mattered was that we were happy. And I wasn't asking anyone's permission for it anymore. And then, my mom is called Anna. That was the moment it stopped being just my problem. My mother's voice was on the other end before she even finished saying hello. I wasn't in the room, but Anna told me later exactly what was said. My mom didn't yell. She didn't accuse. She used that quiet, measured tone she saved for manipulation. She said she just wanted to check in. That she was worried about me. That she missed me. That family shouldn't be torn apart by misunderstandings. That marriage should bring people closer, not pull them away. Then she started with the guilt. Said she was hurt that we didn't include her in the wedding. She didn't even get a chance to see her son on one of the most important days of his life. She said she hoped Anna would understand, that whatever happened, it could still be fixed. Anna said nothing. She let her talk, then ended the call and walked straight into my office. She didn't look mad. She just said calmly, "This ends now. Not just for you, for us." And she was right. I sat down that night and wrote one email. It took 3 hours. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because I knew it had to be the last time I'd say it. I addressed it to my parents and Lucas, but blind copied my Aunt Amanda and 2 other relatives who had all taken turns over the last few months sending me just checking in messages that weren't checking in. I started with the facts. I listed the financial help I'd given over the past 5 years, rent payments, credit card debt I cleared, Lucas's car repairs, even the few times I handed over my own rent money because it's an emergency, Georgie. I gave dates and amounts, and in a few cases, attached screenshots of transfers. I didn't add emotion. I wasn't trying to make them feel bad. I just wanted it all laid out in black and white so there could be no gaslighting later. Then I told them, this wasn't about money. It was about respect. About the years I spent trying to be accepted, only to be treated like an ATM with a guilt switch. That their love always came with conditions. And now, so did my boundaries. Final update. I said I wasn't angry anymore. But I was done playing along. That this wasn't a punishment, it was clarity. And then I ended with the one line I knew would burn. I'm not cutting anyone off. I'm just finally living like I was never really included. I hit send. Then closed the laptop. Anna and I sat on the porch that night with a bottle of red from a vineyard we discovered upstate. We didn't say much. We didn't need to. The quiet wasn't just peaceful, it was earned. And when you've lived your whole life fighting for calm, peace feels like rebellion. The next morning, I had a new friend request, my dad. I didn't accept it. I didn't delete it either. I wanted him to see everything. After the email, there was a stretch of silence that almost felt suspicious. No replies. No sarcastic texts. No attempts at guilt or passive-aggressive swipes. Just nothing. For a week or so, I allowed myself to think maybe it had landed. Maybe the point was finally clear. Maybe they'd backed off. I should have known. It was just the eye of the storm. Lucas was the first to surface again, of course. He posted a photo on Facebook, standing in front of a Tesla. Their arms crossed like he was closing some big deal. Captioned. Did it without help. Funny how quiet it gets when you don't need anyone. The likes rolled in fast. Old friends. Mutuals. A few even tagged me with comments like, "You see this? Or your boy's killing it." I looked at the photo for about 3 seconds and recognized the dealership. He had just posed next to a test drive model. It wasn't his. He couldn't finance a used Honda last fall. But sure. Suddenly, he's self-made. I didn't respond. Just closed the app and let it rot in his corner of the internet. A few days later, Amanda reached out again. This time with no pretense. She sent a long email filled with vague references to pain on both sides and how she didn't think cutting people out was healthy. My mom was having a hard time. They were all still confused about why I'd gone so quiet. She said, "They feel like you've become someone else." That line sat with me for a while. Because she was right. I had become someone else. Someone who wasn't available on demand. Someone who wasn't going to explain himself every time someone else crossed the line. I didn't reply to her either. Instead, Anna and I flew to Tokyo. No real reason, just something we'd always talked about. We found a deal on flights, packed carry-ons, and left within a week. It was the first trip we took that felt entirely our own. No guilt. No checking in. No last-minute drama exploding on the way to the airport. We stayed in a hotel with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Shibuya lights. We drank cold sake from vending machines and got lost inside streets filled with lanterns and smells I couldn't name, but never wanted to forget. I posted one photo. Just the two of us at a ramen bar, mid-laugh, barely looking at the camera. No caption. The reaction was fast. One of my cousins commented, "Guess we're not missing you that much, huh?" My aunt replied under it, "Living the dream while your family suffers." Classy. I didn't delete the comments. I didn't reply. I just let them sit there. A quiet showcase of what I had walked away from. 3 weeks after we got back, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. No return address. But I knew the handwriting the moment I saw it. My mom always looped her W's like she was writing in cursive and printing at the same time. It was 3 pages long, on floral stationery I remembered from childhood. She didn't even try to be subtle. She opened by saying she hoped Anna and I were well. Then she wrote about how things had escalated more than they should have. She regretted how Vegas unfolded. Maybe they should have asked first. But I'd overreacted by disappearing. She never once used the word sorry. She said she missed me. She didn't understand why I was so angry. That she only wanted the best for both of her sons, and sometimes that meant making executive decisions. That families make sacrifices. Then she said something that stood out more than anything else in the entire letter. "It's not like we ever thought you'd hold it against us forever. Over us. You've always been the stable one." That hit differently because it wasn't just an admission, it was a confession. She knew I'd always been the one they leaned on, the one they drained. And now that I'd stopped playing the part, it wasn't just inconvenient, it was betrayal. At the bottom, she wrote, "We're still your family. You can't change that." And she was right about that part. I couldn't change who I was born to, but I could change what access they had to my life. That wasn't about revenge anymore, it was about peace. I folded the letter and put it in a drawer at the back of my desk. I didn't rip it up. Didn't burn it. Just placed it where it belonged, out of sight, but not forgotten. Later that evening, Anna and I were on the porch again. The sun was going down behind our neighbor's maple trees. She asked if I was okay. I told her I was better than okay, because I was. That night, I posted nothing. Said nothing. Did nothing. And it felt like the loudest message I'd ever sent. A month after that letter, life felt steady. Anna found a mural project on the east side. She spent entire afternoons on a ladder, painting bold colors on a bland brick wall. I built up my design portfolio and started volunteering at a local food drive. We made friends. Went to obscure music venues. And by all appearances, we were just two normal people rebuilding a life. Then came the unexpected. It was a rainy Thursday evening when I got a call from Lucas. Same number I'd blocked years ago. I stared at it and debated not answering, but something shifted. I picked up. He sounded different, not defiant or ashamed, but quiet. He said, "Hey, I know this is weird. I just got laid off. My business tanked. I'm in Vegas. I have nothing." Part of me wanted to say no. After everything, why should I care if he messed up again? But when he asked if he could call later, only 6 words, "Can we just talk it out?" I realized I was ready to see what he'd say. Not because I needed forgiveness, but because I wanted honesty. We arranged a Zoom call the next evening. I sat in our living room with Anna next to me. Lucas showed up in a messy Vegas Airbnb. He looked tired, thinner, older, like the Vegas lights had extracted more than he'd ever given. He said he'd crashed hard after trying to open a bar. Burned through savings. Had been lying to everyone, including our parents, about how well things were going. He didn't ask for money. He just asked, "Can you hear me?" For 3 days, he spoke about how he'd felt invisible. Always compare me. How he envied how I seemed to carry myself so easily. Life just worked for me. He apologized for taking advantage of my trust. For pretending I didn't matter, until he did. He asked if there was any way to rebuild something. Anything. I listened without interrupting. At the end, I asked one question, "Do you get what happens next?" He nodded slowly. Tears in his eyes. I said, "You fix yourself. You figure out why you couldn't manage before asking for help." He agreed. I told him I'd send a list, resources, job leads, and counseling options. And if he followed through, I'd come to Vegas. I'd pay for a flight, stay a few days, help him settle into an apartment, and get his resume in shape. But no money for business schemes. No credit card bailouts. He had to show he was serious. He accepted. That night, Anna and I sat outside again with wine. I thought about how this wasn't the plan. Not for a reunion. Not for peace. But there it was. The kid who thought opulence was a replacement for family, now broken, asking. I wasn't making space for them all, but I was making space for honesty. Then my phone buzzed, a flight confirmation from Lucas. I looked at Anna. She smiled and said, "Guess Vegas needs a lesson in boundaries, too." Because unexpectedly, the most important boundary wasn't who I kept out. It was who I didn't shut out when they were ready to build something real.